This is News at 11 on WCJB TV 20, your local station.
Conditions are getting worse as Hurricane Idalia moves closer to Cedar Key.
TV 20 meteorologist Scott Gagliardi has been on the island for hours now, talking to officials and with residents. He joins us live from Cedar Key. Scott, tell us about the preparations you've noticed across that area.
Yeah, Myra, well, what I've seen across most of the island was a few boarded up homes, plenty of sandbags. But what I've noticed across the entire island was that very few people took advantage of the extreme precautions that should have been taken when a major hurricane will be making landfall nearby. Now, we spoke with Mayor Heath Davis earlier, and he was also disappointed in what he saw. He wished more residents left the island, and at last check, we were told about 100 people refused to leave. Some residents we spoke to are leaving the island, said they did all they could in terms of preparations.
I put sandbags up last time. I went over there and dug all those bags full. Spent hours working on it, and I still got water damage. But they use this foam now. And all these bottom doors, you can't see too much, but they're all sealed up at least halfway up. And then we'll have to unseal them afterwards. But that should give us a little bit of protection. Other than that, you know, we're going to have some damage. We'll just deal with it, rebuild.
And it seems the majority of residents listen to the evacuation orders, but there are still serious concerns for those who have stayed here. And as you can see, the conditions here in Cedar Key are very clearly deteriorating pretty quickly. We're beginning to see the first outer band of what is major hurricane, or what will be major hurricane Idalia by landfall. And, you know, we've talked about the island, we've talked about the coastline throughout most of the day today, but areas very far inland are going to be seeing serious situation over the next coming hours by landfall tomorrow morning. I'd say places that I'm concerned about are Steenhatchee, Brantford, Mayo, up through Live Oak and Lake City in terms of seeing the most intense winds gusts upwards of near 100 to 110 miles per hour. We're definitely getting some very intense winds right now, the strongest that we've seen throughout the entire day. Wind speeds, at least right now, I would say are sustained 40 to 50 miles per hour, gusting to at least higher than that. The rain is beginning to fall, and this is just the very beginning from what we're going to see throughout the entire night. It's going to be a long night, so make sure you're very patient. This is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And when we wake up in the morning, we're going to start to see some of the damage that this has caused across most of our area. But for now, we're going to send it back to the studio with Chief Meteorologist Bill Quinlan.
That's right. We've been watching this system intensify over the last several hours, getting just the edge of Category 3 status. But the forecast now is to make it to Category 4 with 130 mile per hour sustained winds as we head through the early part of the morning hours as it approaches now the Taylor County coastline. That will be the brunt of the force with this system as far as wind field goes, but the rest of north central Florida will feel it down the line as well. Take a look at the 11 o'clock advisory, 110 mile per hour winds. Movement to the north at 18. Central pressure has dropped even more so from the last advisory from 10 o'clock down to 958 millibars. So continuing to see strengthening of this system. And we look at the radar view here across the area with a lot of heavy rain and bands moving in from Sarasota to Fort Myers up towards Tampa Bay and continuing heading towards Cedar Key. We're just looking at Scott. He's just starting to get the outer rain bands there. The conditions will begin to deteriorate there. As a matter of fact, how far are we from that system? We'll go from the eye of the storm, which is very well defined right now, up to Cedar Key. We're about 140 miles from Cedar Key. Storm motion is going to be continuing to move off towards the north here as it does so, and then take a little bit more of a turn towards the north and the east down the line as it intensifies into central parts of Taylor County with a Category 4. Now, the cone of uncertainty here still from St. Mark's back over towards Steenhatchee, so watch out for that system as it moves onshore. But south of that area, we're still looking at storm surge potential with the winds coming around the system and producing 10 to 15-foot storm surge here from Crystal River to Cedar Key. Inland, we'll see some of that rainfall as well with some of the banding, and the tornado threat will be increasing. So a tornado watch continuing until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning with a flood watch to the north along I-10 into South Georgia with that heavy rainfall moving on in. Just some scattered showers out there now, nothing too heavy. Most of the wind just starting to arrive from Crystal River back over to Cedar Key with that band. You can see here's a live look at Steenhatchee right now. Quiet weather even at Cedar Key. The rainfall moving in with with the potential for that wind also moving into there with a wind gust out of the east at about 30 miles an hour. Wind gusts officially at the weather station, 26 over at Cedar Key, but offshore we're looking at 50, 60, 70, or 80, 100 mile an hour winds. Expect to see that moving our way as we head through the overnight with storm surge potential anywhere between 12 to 15 feet. Even the East Coast could see 1 to 3 foot storm surge with an onshore flow later on tomorrow.
And like Bill just mentioned, there's a threat from the incoming storm for our inland communities like here in Gainesville as well.
TV20's Jake Rungholt is live outside our studio in Northwest Gainesville to tell us the weather situation.
Yeah, that's right. I'm outside of here of TV20 in Northwest Gainesville, and as you can see right behind me, the wind is starting to pick up a little bit. It's been raining on and off here. In fact, I went out at 7:15 this evening, and a wall of rain just blanketed the area of Gainesville, and that is the kind of scene that you're going to see tonight and overnight and then all day Wednesday at that point. And it's that kind of thing where if you are having these kind of conditions at this point, we want you to be sending your photos to WCJB.com and click on submit pictures or videos, and we'll make sure to air it here on TV20. However, please don't try to go into harm's way just to get a good shot here. We are also taking that advice. In fact, I am just a few feet from standing is the shelter where we are supposed to go if things start to get a little unfavorable for us. And then at that point, when you post that, just remind yourself to be able to continue watching our coverage and seeing our live coverage online for our Idalia live blog for the latest. Jake Rungholt, TV20 News.
The World Equestrian Center reached capacity tonight, and horse owners in Ocala will need to look for somewhere else to put their precious cargo. The owner of DeBoer Equestrian Farm in Ocala is giving shelter to horses ahead of Hurricane Idalia. She was helping bring horses to WEC until it reached capacity. Now she's bringing some to her own farm. The farm's owner says she's glad to give back to the Marion County community, especially when many horse owners don't have any other options due to the cost of transporting horses.
Transport being a really big cost. And when something unexpected like a hurricane comes up and they don't have, $100 or $200 for a transport, I don't feel that anyone should be, left to just suffer with their animals, out in the elements.
DeBoer wants members of the equestrian community to know they are not alone and they can support one another during storms like Hurricane Idalia.
Mandatory evacuation notices are in effect today for many residents across north central Florida. Alachua, Levy, Sewanee, Gilchrist, Union, and Dixie counties are all under these evacuation notices. Alachua County residents living in mobile homes will have to evacuate if they live in flood-prone areas. Emergency management officials released that mandatory evacuation notice this evening. Levy County residents living in mobile homes, recreational vehicles, coastal communities, and low-lying areas are also being told to evacuate. Their evacuation notice went into effect at 4 p.m. If you live in a mobile home, a trailer, or structurally compromised home in Sewanee County, you are also being required to leave. Their notice went into effect at noon.
Every Gilchrist County resident is under a mandatory evacuation notice. That went into effect today at 4 o'clock. Emergency management officials are warning residents of Cat 3 winds. Sheriff's officials in Union County say residents living in mobile homes in the county need to evacuate to a storm-safe home or shelter in the area. There's also an evacuation order for residents in Dixie County. Officials are asking Dixie coastal residents to evacuate due to a possible storm surge of 8 to 12 feet. Putnam County officials are telling residents to consider evacuating to a shelter tonight. This notice is not mandatory.
And for those evacuations, the shelters are open throughout north central Florida. Gilchrist County residents can go to Trenton Elementary. A pet-friendly shelter is open at Bell Elementary. And a special needs shelter is available at Bell High School Health Academy. In Columbia County, shelters are open at Fort White High School, Richardson, Westside, and Winfield Community Centers. Those are all general population. A special needs shelter is available at Westside Elementary. Levy County has a special needs shelter at Bronson Elementary School. A pet-friendly shelter for the general population is also at Bronson Middle High School. Williston Middle High is also open, but pets are not allowed there.
In Marion County, a special needs shelter at Westport High School is now open. Shelters for everyone else are at Forest High School, Horizon Academy, Lake Weir High School, North Marion Middle School, and Vanguard High School. The Vanguard and Lake Weir shelter locations are pet friendly. In Bradford County, the Bradford County Fairgrounds is open now for residents.
In Dixie County, a general shelter is open at Dixie County High School. A special needs shelter is available at Bell Middle and High School, but this requires pre-registering with the Dixie County Health Department. In Alachua County, general population shelters are at the MLK Junior Multipurpose Center. The other is the Easton Newberry Sports Complex. You can bring your pets to both of these locations. The special needs shelter is at the Alachua County Senior Rec Center. A pet-friendly shelter is also open at Aquilla Elementary, that's just east of Hawthorne.
Union County residents can shelter at Union County High School. County officials say everyone is welcome. It opened at 5 o'clock this evening. Suwannee County shelters opened at noon. Residents can go to Branford Elementary School, and anyone with pets can go to Suwannee Pineview Elementary. Suwannee Springcrest Elementary is the special needs shelter.
Several North Central Florida counties have emergency phone lines that you can call in with your questions about the storm. We do have these numbers also available on our website. Some numbers are available 24/7 while others are not. In Alachua County, dial 311 or 352-264-6557. In Dixie County, dial 352-498-1464. Levy County residents can call in to 352-486-5155. Marion County's line is open at 352-369-7500. Putnam County's number is 386-329-1904.
For Bradford County, dial 904-966-6300. Columbia County residents can dial 386-719-7530. The number for Union County is 386-496-1006. Gilchrist County's public information line is 386-935-5418. Once again, you can find these emergency contacts on our website, WCJB.com.
While Idalia is still away from our area, some of us have seen some rain.
Yes, Bill, it's intensifying too, just as we speak.
It is, and we see back out on Steenhatch Marina on State Road 51 there in southern Taylor County. The wind has not arrived. We've seen a few rain bands moving in there. But the storm surge is going to be devastating for that area as we head through early tomorrow morning. We'll have the latest in the forecast track in just a few minutes.
Welcome to Magnolia Ridge, Gainesville's newest and most exclusive skilled nursing facility offering inpatient rehab, outpatient therapy, and memory care. Magnolia Ridge Health and Rehabilitation Center. Call or come by for your tour today.
100,000 Kentuckians can lose access to health care if Daniel Cameron gets his way. Cameron's health care plan is a page from his buddy Matt Bevin's playbook. A threat to rural hospitals, a danger to Kentucky families.
Daniel Cameron says it's
one of the first things I will do as governor.
Bringing back former Governor Matt Bevin's ruthless Medicaid plan, threatening to take away coverage from over 95,000 Kentuckians, punishing working parents, putting rural hospitals in danger of shutting down.
This sounds very similar to something that Governor Matt Bevin tried.
Well, absolutely.
Denying people coverage, devastating rural health care.
Something that Governor Matt Bevin tried.
Well, absolutely.
Cameron's absolutely wrong for Kentucky.
Welcome to Magnolia Ridge, Gainesville's newest and most exclusive skilled nursing facility offering inpatient rehab, outpatient therapy, and memory care. Magnolia Ridge Health and Rehabilitation Center. Call or come by for your tour today.
Close to Category 3 status now with 110 mile per hour winds. Only one more mile per hour before it gets to Category 3 or major hurricane status. But even past that point, we're looking at possibility of getting to Category 4 with 130 mile per hour winds and gusts to 160 miles an hour before making landfall in most likely coastal parts of Taylor County, north of Steinhatchee. Right now, moving to the north at about 958 millibars. That means the pressure keeps dropping across the region. You can see the cloud shield in this is very large, but the wind field is actually fairly small still, with tropical storm force winds only about 160 miles from the center, hurricane force winds 25 miles from the center. When we zoom on into this area right now, you can see some banding starting to develop right near the center. That's an indication this is strengthening even more so. And there's nothing to keep it strengthening even more as it moves off towards the north. There's no shear with this. It'll have some interaction with the landmass from Tampa Bay back up towards Cedar Key, but those bands are going to create the threat of tornadoes across the region as well. Here's a look at the storm right now. The eye is about, let's see how wide this is. The eye is about 10 miles across, and we've been watching this carefully because the hurricane force winds are only 25 miles from the center, so that puts it out this distance here. And that's near some of the outer bands. We're probably going to go through what we call an eye wall replacement cycle. So it will begin to kind of collapse the eye, and then it will breathe out and expand the cloud shield and the wind field as well. The tropical storm force winds move out about 160 miles from the center, so including Sarasota, Tampa Bay, and then back up almost to Cedar Key right now as we look at the potential for those winds coming around this right here. That's where they're going to continue to move inland in that area, and that's going to help feed the storm. We don't see any bands on the other side, but that's because the radar doesn't reach that far, and that's just kind of feeding these as they move along the area. So we'll be watching for these bands to continue and intensify with more wind gusts along that line. Category 2 status now for Idalia as it moves closer to the coastline sometime between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning, potentially making landfall north of Steinhatchee, and then moving inland across north central Florida up towards Live Oak and Lake City into South Georgia near Valdosta. But you'll notice we are still going to see the impacts of this because we are going to see the wind field coming around this system towards Crystal River and Cedar Key and over towards Chiefland and Yankeetown. Watch out because we are expecting to see those winds really pick up over the next several hours with some of those bands. So the hurricane warning continues from 301 back over towards the west coast, and from 301 to the east to tropical storm warnings. That's kind of the dividing line between where we're going to have tropical storm force winds and hurricane force winds, at least hurricane gusts up and down I-75 into Gainesville, even in Ocala. Back out west of that area, even stronger winds as that storm moves onshore. Now the onshore flow is also going to continue to see maybe some flooding here. Storm surge potential on the east coast, well away from the center of circulation, but the onshore flow is going to cause some flooding there. But 12 to 16 foot. Just updated this now for Taylor County, Dixie County, and Levy County through the storm passing on by in the early morning hours. And you can see the wind field has kind of shrunken a bit here. Hurricane force winds not as likely here in Gainesville, but we are still looking for the potential for some hurricane gusts across the region, but also tropical storm force winds for an extended period and heavy rainfall anywhere between 12 to 15 inches rain, with that flood threat continuing in through South Georgia. A tornado threat moving into north central Florida as well, with a tornado watch in effect until 6 o'clock in the morning along some of those bands. That's the dangerous conditions now and the flood watch continues till 11 o'clock tomorrow night because of the heavy rainfall potentially in that area. Just a few isolated showers for this afternoon, this evening. Stronger bands moving on through Cedar Key. You can see that band moving in now just off to the south. That's where the wind is near Crystal River and back over to Homosassa. That'll be moving to Cedar Key in the next 10 or 15 minutes, so get ready. Looking at Cedar Key on the weather stem camera there, looking back out over the last 3 hours, you'll see the winds coming on by and the clouds rolling very, very quickly across the region. Here comes some of that rain with the wind gust now, tropical storm strength just 1 mile per hour below, a 38-mile-an-hour gust now, and you'll see that storm system moves onshore in the early morning hours, potentially as a Category 4 into Taylor County, and then moves into South Georgia, South Carolina. Going to see tremendous flooding in those areas, but we are not out of the woods. More rainfall moving in for Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening with some stronger thunderstorms as well. Here's your 7-day forecast. We'll go with 90% chance of rain tomorrow, 70% Thursday, 60% Friday. The temperatures drop off a little bit here as we head through the weekend and jump back up for the beginning of next week.
Power outages are already starting to increase as Idalia makes its track toward the coast. Let's check in with Ruel for an update on power that's been affected in north central Florida.
Thank you, Myra. Well, according to Power Outage US, this is the website that tracks power outages across the entire country. For the state of Florida this evening, the last update came at 11:11. Nearly 17,000 people across our state are dealing with no power, although our focus is north central Florida. Let's start with our coastal communities. This is Dixie County. It's reporting 0 customers out in that area. That's according to Central Florida Electric Cooperative, but maybe they just haven't updated their numbers yet for that area. Looking back to our map, Levy County on your screen, about 18 customers there. Again, Central Florida Electric Cooperative not reporting as many power outages that may be in that area for those folks. Back to our map, just an earlier check earlier in this newscast, the inland communities of Columbia and Sewanee were dealing with a lot of power outages. Getting an updated number for those areas, Sewanee County has about 37 people without power this evening. Back to our map, checking on Columbia County. 125 people out in that area. That's out of 18,000 customers with Clay Electric Cooperative that's being tracked this evening. Back to our map here. Let's check in on Alachua County, 22 customers in that part of north central Florida. Marion County on our screen. Just 31 customers there. Really across our area, the only differentiation that we see with this color blue across this map is Wakulla County. The people in that area, nearly more than 500 customers out of power in that area at this evening. Again, Wakulla County is not in our area, but they're dealing with plenty of power outages this evening. Now, we're going to keep you updated on these power outages as we continue our storm coverage across north central Florida.
Hurricane Idalia is projected to hit the coast of... We'll tell you how Florida and other state officials are preparing for the impact next when TV 20 News at 11 returns.
Welcome to Magnolia Ridge, Gainesville's newest and most exclusive skilled nursing facility offering inpatient rehab, outpatient therapy, and memory care. Magnolia Ridge Health and Rehabilitation Center. Call or come by for your tour today. Welcome to Magnolia Ridge, Gainesville's newest and most exclusive skilled nursing facility offering inpatient rehab, outpatient therapy, and memory care. Magnolia Ridge Health and Rehabilitation Center. Call or come by for your tour today.
Hurricane Idalia is continuing toward the coast of Florida with 110-mile-per-hour winds and growing.
ABC's Ike Ajachi is joining us from Tampa with details about the storm's potential damage statewide.
Hurricane Idalia inching closer to land. The storm, now a Category 2 hurricane with wind speeds in excess of 105 miles per hour, expected to hit Florida's Big Bend on Wednesday morning. The National Weather Service calling Idalia an unprecedented event, since no major hurricanes on record have ever passed through the region. Idalia's outer bands already causing havoc in the Sunshine State. Winds picking up speed, rough surf in the Keys, tornado warnings near Naples. But the biggest concern, life-threatening storm surge. Governor Ron DeSantis ordering evacuations for low-lying areas in 22 counties.
It's the strongest hurricane since I've lived here, 40 years. Come to our area.
FEMA urging families to follow the evacuation orders and get out while there's still time.
If you are in a storm surge warning area, it could mean just traveling 10 or 20 miles to get out of the most significant impact areas. It does not mean having to travel hundreds of miles to get out of the storm's path.
Here in Tampa, the city's main hospital erecting an aqua fence around the building to keep the water out. Further north, the barrier island of Cedar Key, boarded up. Almost everyone is gone. Governor Ron DeSantis says the city could see up to 13 feet of storm surge. All this as state and federal emergency crews make preparations. Elite urban search and rescue teams are on the ground, along with power crews from as far away as Maine, anticipating major power outages. The Florida National Guard deploying 5,500 guardsmen to assist with storm prep and response, all while the DoD stands ready to assist. The storm is now causing concerns in neighboring states. Georgia, North, and South Carolina are now in a state of emergency. In Tampa, Ike Ajachi, ABC News.
If you need a ride home from a shelter, Uber is offering free round-trip rides in certain counties in response to Hurricane Idalia. In our coverage area, that includes Alachua, Dixie, Marion, and Union counties. The trips can be up to $35 each way, and that's to and from a state-approved evacuation shelter. To order a ride, open the Uber app and enter the promo code Idalia Relief in your account wallet. The offer is valid for up to 2 trips per rider.
Stick with us. We'll be right back with the final weather check after this quick break.
110-mile-per-hour winds. 1 more mile per hour gets to Category 3 status, but the forecast is to get to Category 4 before making landfall somewhere along the coastline of Taylor County, either north of Steinhatchee or closer to St. Mark's down the line. We're watching the bands around this right now. Those are going to continue to produce some very strong winds. Tropical storm force winds extend outward over 160 miles from the center. Hurricane force winds are only 25 miles from the center, but this still has a long way to go. Several more hours as we head through the overnight, about 10 more hours of intensifying as it moves across the northern Gulf. The warm water out there is going to continue to produce some very dangerous conditions moving into north central Florida. Let's take a look. We'll get rid of my picture. You'll be able to see the potential for that landfall sometime in the early morning hours, just to the west of Perry. Perry is going to take a brunt of this with 130, maybe 150 mile per hour gusts moving onshore up toward Valdosta, and then interior section of north central Florida still going to see some rainfall on the backside of the system on Thursday, with more rainfall moving our way as we head through the next several days, continuing that trend with some very warm weather out there as we head through the end of the week. But the humidity will be high and the rain chances will be high as well, but we'll also be watching for the flooding of the rivers starting to come up over the next several days. 3-day planner, we're looking for Wednesday. 90% chance of showers and storms. Idalia impacts all of north central Florida. The bulk of the wind will shift more to the north and west instead of Gainesville, Ocala, back out towards Live Oak and Lake City, over towards Dixie County, across city, moving inland towards Taylor County and Perry, and then back over on Thursday. Showers and storms still holding on here, not really associated with our tropical system, but still warm, hot, humid conditions, 70% chance of rain there. As we head through Friday, we're also looking at the possibility of 60% chance of rain moving on in. So it looks like a very stormy forecast over the next several days.
Thank you, Bill. That's all the time for your TV 20 News at 11, but us here at your local station, we're going to continue our coverage on air, online, and on social media throughout the night and into the morning.
We will have hourly updates for you on the latest weather conditions, and the morning news begins at 5. Stay safe and good night.